Okay, Kumlena Black Gemara. We are up to Daf Chav Gimel. What's fascinating is we are learning the laws of Avadim, how you acquire a Jewish Eved, how you acquire a non-Jewish Eved, and it would all seem to be very theoretical. We don't have slavery today, and even when they had slavery, back then in the States and the rest of the world, it wasn't like the slaves that we have. But what's interesting is that in Shulchan Aruch, in Yoreh De'ah, right after the chapters of Bris Milah, of circumcision, there's a whole chapter dedicated to Avadim. It's all about Eved Ivri, Eved Knani. Starts off talking about, a bris, that for an Eved Knani you have to give a bris and so on. It's your responsibility. And but then it goes into all the laws of slavery, and you wonder why. And then throughout Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim, whenever it talks, it gives halachas. Every time it says, that let's say women are exempt from this mitzvah. It also adds avodim, as if it was very relevant in the times of Shulchan Aruch and beyond. To the extent that even later poskim argue about certain laws of avodim, which I thought was quite interesting. So we are up to the Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, the two dots. In the Mishnah, just quickly remind you, in the Mishnah, it could be said that an Eved Knani, you can purchase an Eved Knani or you acquire an Eved Knani either with money or with shtar, and which is similar to an Eved Ivri. And then also, there's an additional thing that Eved doesn't have is chazaka. You make him do some menial tasks. Then we had an argument, Ramei and Chachamim, and the way it seems from the Mishnah, till the Gemara concludes otherwise, that there are two opinions here. One is regarding between Ramei and Chachamim. One is regarding money, and one is regarding shtar. And it goes as follows: that when it comes to money, Ramei says the Eved never has his own money. Whatever the Eved owns belongs to the master. So it could only be someone else's money that goes directly to the master, and to set him free. When it comes to shtar, it seems from the Mishnah, only if it goes directly to him. This bill of divorce, only if it goes directly to the Eved. If it goes to another person, it doesn't work. Why? We'll see in the Gemara. That's the view of Rameir. And the Chachamim seem to learn exactly the opposite. When it comes to money, yes, he has money, because people can give him money on the condition that the master has no control over it. So he can redeem himself with his own money. Does that mean that he cannot redeem himself with other money? What's going on here? We'll see in the Gemara. And then shtar, as opposed to Rameir said that he's the only one who can accept it, it seems that Chacham say only others can accept it, not him. But then the Mishnah concludes, as long as the money that he uses for himself comes from other sources. So what exactly is going on here? And they must give it to him on the condition the master has no control. Okay, so you want to try to work out the Mishnah, and we'll turn the time Mishnah upside down. And even add, there's a third opinion there. Where are you going to find, and the way Rashi learns the Gemara, so the expression of some of the Rishonim who argue with Rashi is, you put a knife and you slice the Mishnah like right in the middle. Because Rashi adds a third opinion, but the Gemara has a third opinion, but the way Rashi slices it into the Mishnah. So let's see the Gemara. It says the Gemara, let's analyze the Mishnah. It says in the Mishnah, B'koines asked about 7 lines from the top of the page. B'koines asked B'kesav, you acquire yourself. How does the Eved Ivri then get his freedom? Through money. And then we discussed, what? Everything is Eved Knani here. How does he acquire his freedom? Through money. Which also Eved Ivri also does that. You work out, you calculate how much is left, and so on and so forth. But we had an argument: this money, who gives that money? So the mayor says, money to others. In other words, he cannot give money in Avaloya, the Asna himself. The Mayas, what are we talking about? There's two possibilities throughout the Mishnah. Is the Eved aware that others are intervening on his behalf, or the Eved is not aware? Now, if the Eved is not aware, why would it even be good? What's the discussion? Because they're doing to help you out. And we have a concept called Zuchus. And we have a concept, Zachin la'adav shalei b'fanav. If I find money and I say, oh, I want this money to belong to that person, it belongs to that person, even though that person is totally unaware. Zachin, we had a whole discussion whether it's because of shlichus or something totally different. We'll learn actually more about it in the second page here in Kiddushin. So Zachin la'adav says Zuchus. And therefore, others can do it for him. Now, we did have an argument in Gittin, in the Yuds, an argument with Rameir and Chachamim, whether it's actually a good thing for an Eved to be set free, or is it a bad thing? According to Rameir, it's a bad thing for an Eved to go free. He loses his rights to eat truma if he's an Eved for a kohen. He loses his rights to live with a shifcha kananis, which is so much easier than when he's free. He has to marry, proper marriage with a bas chayrin and so on. So it's chayv. And the Chachamim say it's a chus. Yet here, Rameir says that when it comes to money, only others can give them money. So what are we talking about here? That the guy is unaware. Mechdi Shemana is the one that says it's bad for the Eved to go out free. And the rule is, yes, you can merit things to a person when he's unaware, but if he's unaware, you can go ahead and harm him. Obviously, the Eved knew about it, and he asked those people, or they told him that they're going to pay, that they're going to release him, they're going to pay the rest of his, whatever the debt is, to the master. So what's it come and tell you? Well, Kamash Malon. So and yet Meir says only others. And what about the Eved himself? Obviously, a mayor holds and Eved can never have their own money. If these people, these well wishers or do gooders, give the Eved the money on the condition the master has no rights to it, it wouldn't work either. So how come only through others? Alma ain't can you ever blade up? That mayor holds that it's impossible for an Eved to ever own anything outright under any circumstance. Okay, so let's continue. So we're talking about that it's medaita. He's totally aware of it, but money can only be others because he can't have his own money. So if we continue the flow of the Mishnah, by shtar will be the same thing, that he's totally aware. So why can't he have others accepting his shtar? If you read the Mishnah, it sounds like only he can receive his own shtar and not others. The medaita, if he's aware, why can't someone else accept the shtar on his behalf if he's totally aware of it? So you can tell me, why can't it be that this guy is representing the Eved? Why not? If the Eved himself can accept it, surely you can appoint a shliach to accept it on his behalf. The rule is that if you cannot do something yourself, you cannot appoint somebody else. But if I could do it myself, Navas, so you'll tell me when a mayor said that a shtar you can accept it yourself, it didn't mean to negate others. He meant to say, by money, you cannot be involved yourself. You cannot give the money. But comes a shtar, you could. In other words, also you can accept the shtar. Others for sure can, even you. And that's a chiddush. Why is that a chiddush? You would think that if you can, the only reason why others can take it on your behalf is because you could take it. So it's a greater chiddush than others. Why is that made only highlight that you can accept your shtar? Because the problem is whatever you own goes back to the master. So how do you ever get set free? Must be that your independence and your acquisition of the shtar both happen in tandem. And that's a chiddush. And we'll see not everyone agrees to that. So therefore, that's a nice chiddush. So the Gemara in a Braisa we learned that when it says here that you can accept the shtar, it's only you who can accept the shtar. The time includes that someone else can't accept the shtar. What's going on here? What's the logic behind that? What's going on here? Says about you're right. Let's change the whole Mishnah. The Mishnah is talking about he's totally not aware. And that is why by shtar, if he's not aware, only he can accept it because the master can free him against his will, but others can't accept the shtar on his behalf. No, so by money, if a mayor holds it's harmful for him to be set free. How come others can accept the money for? Okay, he cannot accept the money, so he cannot give the money because he doesn't own anything. Fine, but how can others give money on his behalf if he's totally unaware? So Abai says that money by an Eved is an exception when it comes to setting him free. Why is that? Because since the acquisition of an Eved Kanani is against his will, his previous master, Irogoy, sells him. What say does he have? Nothing. So therefore he can also be set free against his will. Therefore someone else can give the money to the master and the master will set him free. It's harmful to the Eved. So be it. So the Gemara. The Eved does not appoint these people to represent him. And therefore by shtar they cannot accept it, only the Eved himself. Money, so how can they give money in his behalf? Shiny Kesef, since he was acquired against his will, is Makdale Balkarche. So this particular process of setting him free, we don't need his consent, so therefore someone else can do it on his behalf. Says the Gemara, how come we by a shtar we say only he can receive the shtar, not somebody else, because it's against his will? So what? We just said that since he can be acquired against his will, he can be set free against his will. So why can't other people accept the shtar of freedom, his bill of divorce as well, whether he likes it or not, whether he's aware of it or not? Says the shtar that's used to be bought is not to say the context or the contents of the shtar. The document is very different than the content of the shtar when he's released. So just because that a shtar to be bought is against his will, doesn't be aware of it, doesn't give any rights to set him free, that someone else can come and just take it against his will. It's a different shtar. The money also represents different things. The money you said because he was acquired against his will, but that money was to purchase. This money is being used to be released. So we already had before. Tiva mi'achad is the same coin. The shtar is not the paper; it's the words that are written in the shtar. The contents are very different. That's what the Abai says. Comes along Rav. It doesn't disagree with the Abai, but Rav adds like this. Kesef, you say, you know why money is different? You know why bad money others can give? You didn't know about it. And yet, and you can, and it's harmful. And yet others can give money in his behalf. You know why? Kabbalas Rabbi Gormaloi. In other words, they are giving the money to the master. And the master is the one who sets them free. So those people are not doing anything harmful to the Ebed. They are giving money to the master. And the master is benefiting from it. He got money. And then the master sets it free. Shtar Kabbalah Chenga. But when it comes to shtar, it's the receipt of the shtar that sets him free. And that receipt is harmful to him. How can others receive the shtar for him? There's a in the poskim they talk about an interesting case, and based on this Gemara here, what happens if Shimon comes over to Reuben and says, "Do me a favor, I need $1,000. Lend me $1,000." Comes along Levi to Reuben and says, "If you're going to lend him $1,000, he's going to be able to buy the property which is right next door to me. I can only afford $800, and if he's not there, if he's not there at the auction, I'll get it for $800. So you are going to harm me by lending him that money." Is it a taina or not? Are you a mazik? And what happened? And what happened in this case was that the guy lent the money to Shimon, and Shimon bought the property, and he harmed Levi. Levi took him to the Torah. So what happens in this case? So they use this Gemara to say follows. What's the logic? They say, what's the logic behind this Gemara? Because it's not what they did was not a chayv, was a good thing. They helped out the master, gave him cash. The master did whatever his rights are, which is to release that. Same over here. Reuven did Shimon a favor. As a result of that, that's arm's length. They had nothing to do with it. That's Shimon's decision, and therefore it's permitted. Okay, something more further. It's true, yeah. Says the Gemara. The Chachamim, however, say the question of the that's our mayor. Now let's analyze the Chachamim. The Chachamim says all the way around, the way we read the Mishnah literally. Money. He can give his own money because people can give him money on the condition the master has no share. And shtar, others only. Sounds like he cannot accept the shtar, which is difficult to understand. And money sounds like others can't give, which is also difficult to understand. You know why it's difficult to understand? Because the Chachamim hold that it's chus for the Eved to be free. He's full-fledged Yid, and he's free. So why can't others give money on his behalf? Says the Gemara. Because for the afternoon, even though we just said the Mishnah talking about he's not aware, it's a good thing for the Eved to be set free. But and the rule is when it comes to schus, it's a good thing, and we don't need his cognizance, we don't need his consent. So what do you tell me the Mishnah means? When the Mishnah says Maya de'atzmai, it's coming to add. You, Rab Meir, say only Achedim. I'm saying also even himself. Achedim, for sure, he could. It's a good thing, says the Chachamim. But even he himself, because it's possible for an Eved to have his own money. Afal de'atzmai, it means also himself. Ukamashlan. So what's the chiddush? The yesh kini level rabba. It's possible for an Eved to have his own money. Let's continue. Let's look at the sefer. Bishtar ayidei Achedim. Bishtar. It's only through others. Right? The Shtar says in the Mishnah that the Chachamim say, "Ayidei through others," but he cannot accept the Shtar. Now, why not? Why can't he accept his own Shtar? Accepting his own Shtar would be Gitte v'Yodeh b'Echad. We pass in halacha l'maisa. That's the case. Why can't the Eved accept his own Shtar Shichur, his own bill of divorce? What kind of give you a Echad? So what do you tell me? It means also he can accept. Others can accept, but also him. And what's the chiddush also him? Because Gita v'Yad Echad comes out that in whether it's Kesser, whether it's Shtar, he can accept both, and so can everybody else. So why make it two separate cases? Just put them all together and say that whether it's Kesser or Shtar, everybody can accept it, whether him or somebody else. When it comes to Shtar, the chiddush is. So that by Shtar the chiddush is not that he can accept that, others can accept it as well. And why is that a chiddush? Because it's a schus, and that's the chiddush. That's actually a good thing. So why doesn't the Mishnah then put them together? The kesef ubishtar bein ayidei achedim bein ayidei atzmai. Like kesef and shtar can be done both ways. Ella must be. There's a third opinion here. That line in the Mishnah. This is how Rashi learned. When it comes to shtar, there's a third opinion. You're right. The Chachamim hold all cases are good. When it comes to money, he has his own money, so others can do a good thing, and he has his own money. When it comes to shtad, he can do it because Gita v'yodeh boin kechet, his hand and his freedom come together, and others can do it as well as a schus. All cases. When the Mishnah says at the end, ubishtad, that's only a third opinion. Forgot to put in the name of the third person, but that's where we slice according to Rashi, and we put a new opinion in. And this is how it goes. Bekesef, and he only argues about shtad. So by kesef, bein aideh chedim, bein aideh atzmai. By kesef, it's all, and that's the way Rashi learns. That's the chacham. Bishtar, aideh chedim, lo aideh atzmai. Bishtar, it's others, and in other words, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar holds that only others can do it. Sai kesef and sai shtar. Even though we only mention shtar in the Mishnah, Rashi throws in kesef as well. Other Rishonim learn that only by shtar he argues. Rashi says no. But Rabbi Shimon Elazar, he's throwing kesef as well. No, what's Rabbi Shimon Elazar hold? When it comes to kesef, the Eved cannot give his own money because there's no way the Eved has his own money. He agrees with Meir. When it comes to shtar, he says he cannot accept it himself because I don't believe in the principle of gita v'yodeh boin kechet. There can only be others, and I hold it as chus like the Rabbanon. That's how Rashi learns. The time we learn, Shimon Elazar, Av b'shtar aideh chedim lo yatzmai. It comes out the shoulders machlekes b'dava. The three opinions. So I just tell you how Rashi learns. Other Rishonim learn, and Rashi doesn't like it. But other Rishonim learn that Rabbi Shimon Elazar agrees when it comes to kesef. It could be that he could have his own opinion. He only argues when it comes to shtar. But Rashi and the Rishonim, try to understand why Rashi, what forced Rashi to say that he also argues on kesef. That's where he made a slice. He took the words from before the slice and put it after the slice to put them all together. Okay, let's continue. Amar Rabba says, Rabba, my time at Hashem Elazar, what's the logic of Elazar? Gomar, he learns that, lo misha. He learns that, lo misha. Why can't the Eved receive his own get? Because just like we learn out of Xer we had a few times, Chagik and other places, we learn out law from Isha. There's a Chaposel not to Newton law. And by and therefore we have the word law by a woman, it says also law over here, to tell you get just like Isha. My Isha, sorry. Just like Isha. Isha is not owned by the husband. She's an independent person. So when you place the get in her hand, it's the get left the husband's domain. So too, when he gives to an Eved, it has to leave the Eved's domain. The problem is the Eved belongs to the Balabas. And Rabbi Shimon Elazar does not believe in the principle of Gita v'yodeh boin kechet. He's the one who argues. It has to leave. Therefore, only Achedim can accept his get, and not he himself. Not he himself. Says the Gemara, Rabba asked, that Rav Shimon ben Elazar, according to Rav Shimon ben Elazar, who says that an Eved cannot be mekabel his own get. So here we have an interesting question. If the Eved cannot be mekabel his own get, and yet can he appoint a shliach to be mekabel the get for him? And the question is, generally speaking, in logic, if you cannot do something yourself, how can you pass on that power or vest that power on someone else when you don't even have that power in the first place, in the first instance? So he wants to according to Shimon ben Elazar, who says that the Eved cannot be mekabel the get because he has no independent hand from his master. Can he appoint a shliach to receive the get from his master? Can he do that or not? Kivan, the question is, Kivan the Gomal Lola Miisha. Since we learn out Lola Miisha, on the one hand, we say Kisha, just like a woman could appoint. A woman could appoint other shluchim, right? A woman can. So why can't he do the same thing? No, the custom usurps that logic. Isha, there's a logic to it. In other words, even though I have a shava, but we can only learn things that are possible. Isha, the matzi mekabel gita shliach namat shava. Eved the loy mekabel gita shliach nami lematzi mishavia. There's a famous chakira. Mishnah Melech talks about it. We learn Eved lolo meisha. A woman has no issur of shaving her beard using razors. What about an Eved? Now the reason why a woman has no issur is because she doesn't have a beard. An Eved, a male, does have a beard. So do we say, la mi'isha, since a woman has no chiyuv, neither does he? Or do we say that only halachas we learn la mi'isha? That's a metzias thing. And it seems, even though it doesn't allude to it, this would be exactly the same question. Do we say la mi'isha in all instances, so therefore the fact that the woman can point to shliach, so can he? Or do we say, no, it's a metzias thing. There she can because she has the ability to do it herself. Here, you don't have the ability yourself. It's not a halachic problem; it's a mitzvah problem. If you can't appoint a shliach, and the law will not override a mitzvah. It's exactly the same question. So let's see how the Gemara reads.
You say that the other person is doing it for the all the evidence is not pointing. It's just showing that that's what
we learned.
Like. That's what you make it
Okay, good point. Shimon Lazar said that Achedim could accept the get, but he didn't really appoint. He didn't really appoint him. Tases on the bottom of the okay. Tases on the bottom of him. Ma'osh Yasa Shliach. The question is something along the line we just said, without anything else. No, if someone else does it, the way Taser explains is by me. If someone else does it on my behalf, fine. But if I appoint them, I made it worse because you're no longer doing it. Stam the balabos gave you. You're doing it for me, but I can't do it myself. So you're maybe not or not. And the interesting thing is, there's a whole shaila. Take another vantage point. Taser's shitty throughout Shas is that schiyim mitam shlichus. Why can someone do it on your behalf? Because it's like a shliach. So if others can do it, then they're doing it because of shliach. So it's a shaila. Others can. The only reason why they can do it is as if you're pointing them. So if you didn't point them, how can that be worse? Must be Rashi shitty throughout Shas, and we'll have it later. Is that schiyah is not do shlichus. It's a concept. Each zeicher we'll see later from the machnas how they divided it to throw. The Rosh Matas divided so and maybe that gufa is the shaila in the Gemara here. If you learn that schiyah and tam shlichus, others can do it on your behalf, so surely you can appoint a shliach. But if you learn that schiyah and shlichus, they can do it, but I can't. And by me saying it, I'm making it worse. By me appointing a shliach, I'm making it worse. And that gufa is the Gemara shaila. What is the role of others here? The other question is, the second way of learning is, what happens if he stands and screams, I don't want to start? Does that stop the others or not? If he has no say in the whole thing at all, then he can't stop. If he has a little bit of say. Let's see the Gemara. Says the Gemara, boss of the boy of the Pasha, after he asked the question, he resolved it. La meisha ki isha. So it seems the Gemara resolved. If you learn like the Mishnah Metal Shaila here, then it comes out that the Lola Misha takes across canvases everything. So including shaving a beard, and an Ebed would be potter from shaving using a razor to shave his beard. Because Lola Misha. Okay. Or he could have pointed, and Lola Misha needs that he could have pointed Shlich. So what are you telling me? So let me ask a question. We had an Gemara Dorim. Actually, Gemara remained a question without resolving it, and here the Gemara is going to resolve it. And Teish already discusses what's going on. How can one Gemara leave it unanswered and one Gemara leaves it resolved? And the Gemara says, you can always join us. If you're going to tell me that Shlucha did done, mi ika midi mauzo. Mi ika midi, is there anything? The anan loimatzinen avdin of inu matzi avdi. Is it? No, we had a question. Koinim, when they work in the base of Mikdash, are they representing us or representing the Eibishter? And we said, how can it be that Koinim represent us? We cannot go ahead and be involved in the Kabbanis. How in the world can the Koinim be our Shluchim? It must be that they're working for the Eibishter. So what do we see from here? That we accept that logic, that if you cannot do something yourself, you cannot appoint a Shliach. So how in the world can an Evet Kanani who cannot receive the get himself, according to Shimon Elazar, appoint a Shliach? Here we have exactly the case. The Eved cannot accept the get, and yet he can appoint somebody. However, the law, he's no rayid. Yisrael loy shayche b'toilos kabbanos klal. We, as a Yisrael, we have nothing to do with any stage of the carbon. And shchita is not called avodah, so you cannot talk about shchita. But the carbon part of it, we have nothing to do with it. So therefore, we say that there's no way in the world the Kohen can be our shliach, our appointee. He must be representing the Eibishter. Oh, but Eved, Shaykh begitin. An Eved, sometimes the concept of Gittin is Shaykh to Eved. And once the concept of Shaykh to Eved, even though in a particular case he cannot accept the get, he can appoint a shliach to on his behalf. Where do you find that an Eved Knani can ever be involved in the get, according to Elazar, when he has no hand of his own? The time we learn, interesting expression for a brisa. It appears to us an Eved cannot accept his own get, but he can accept a get on behalf of a fellow Eved from a different master. Because the fact is, it left that master's reshus. Whatever Eved had belongs to his master. So what? The point is that it left his friend's master's domain. So therefore, the idea of getting a shayach to an Eved, that's why he can appoint a shliach to accept his get, even though he personally cannot accept for himself.
So he become owned by the new master?
No, it's just a get shikha. There's no acquisition here, just a release.
Is acceptable for him. Everything that he accepts falls.
Yeah. He's exactly. So no, what do you accept? A bill of release. He's released.
So Yisrael's never. I mean, the Kohen's never shayach for Yisrael.
No. We're going to learn in the second page, if you're with us still. We're going to learn that we learn out the whole concept of shlichus from Korban Pesach. With it says that that then we shachtu kol eda. So we see that there is shlichus by Korban. So someone say that Korban Pesach might be different. We'll see the Gemara later.
So the personal Korban that you have just you, not a Korban civil.
So it's my chiyuv, but when he's standing there and doing performing all the avedas, that's the Abish, he's representing the Abish. The Gemara leaves it up in the air. In fact, an expression. Exactly. You have to know, but you roll.
That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised.
And there's an expression we have in Marbella. Mishulchan Gavoya Kazach. All the food that the Kohanim eat from the Kabbanis. Mishulchan Gavoya, they're taking it from the Abish's. The Abish is giving that back to them as thank you. So
every day?
7 o'clock. And Monday and Thursday, 7 o'clock. And it's also on YouTube and on Spotify and a million other things. So
I'll finish this and I'll come every day.
Very nice.
15, 20 minutes. Start again.
Welcome. You're welcome. We just got a new recruit, everybody.
Old recruits.
An old recruit. Sorry.
How did you make it together?
Baruch Hashem. Says the Gemara, okay, a maid holds that the Eved can never have money of his own. And the Chachamim say, no, Eved could have money of his own. What's going on here? This is the argument. Rameir holds ain't Kenyan level Rabbi. It's impossible for an Eved to ever have money on his own. Even if somebody gives a gift to the Eved and says, I'm giving this on the condition that it doesn't go transfer to your master, it doesn't work. That condition is meaningless. They can reach by Bible, and same thing applies also. While the woman is married and we made it a chomer takana that everything that she has goes to the husband. The dividends. Nobody can, according to this opinion, you can't say to the wife, I'm giving you a gift on the condition your husband does not get the dividends. But abundance have yes, can you level it up? Yes, can you yes, you can make such a condition. That's one version of how to understand the argument. And comes along the name of Sheish is the Kuli Alma, everyone holds ain't can you level up. I can argue that everyone agrees the master has the Eved has no hand of his own. The ain't can you can't even make it tonight. The halcha b'mayaski, you know what we're talking about over here? The aktele achamona. Over here, it's talking about someone gave let's say the Eved $100, but on Malay said to the Eved, Al Manashe ein l'rabach He made a condition on Manasseh, a very strong condition that I don't want your master to have it. So what's the argument? Rameir holds ki Amalei kni kani Eved, the kani Rabbe. And I told you yesterday, the way that Ashbrook, if I remember correctly, learns like this. When we say Yad Eved ki Yad Rabbe, there's two ways of understanding. One way of understanding is that the Eved has no Yad, that the hand of the Eved is the hand of the Rabbi. So the moment you placed it in the hand of the Eved and you said, here, take it, who are you talking to? You're talking to the master. So the master already has it. And then afterwards you want to change that, too late. What do you say? It's too late. And the Rabbanon hold no. What Rabbanon hold? They hold no. First it goes to the Eved, and from the Eved, Halacha says we transfer it now to the master. But if I put a wedge in between, I say Al Manasseh doesn't get transferred onto the master, then it remains with the Eved. Rabbanon say keep Al Manasseh ahani late tonight. That's not does help. That's how Rav Shesha learned. But Rabbi Lozer says no. No, I think everyone agrees that Eved has no yad to go straight to the master. But the Hochamash, you know what we're talking about over here? He's going to Aknele Achamona, someone else gives $100. But Amalei says to the Eved, I'm not even giving it to you. I'm not giving you the money for you to keep. I'm giving you the money to eventually give it to the master. I'm giving it to the master, but I only want it to be used to set your freedom. So, same thing. The moment you put the thing, you can't change it afterwards. I never gave the money for you. I'm giving it to you for you to give it to the master. Taka should go to the master, but on this condition. What's fascinating is that in Shulchan Aruch, I told you there's a whole similar about avodim, which is hard to understand why today we have a whole similar in Shulchan Aruch. But when you talk about Hilchos Mashiach, and the big machlek is a shach and taz there. By a woman, if you say to the woman, "I'm giving this on the condition that your husband has no rights to it," okay, let's say it works, machlek is halach it works, or you say to her, "I'm giving you on the condition," even those who say you can't, but the condition When you want to use it. So there's thereby a woman we say, because he didn't give it to her now. So even right now, it's still the original person's. Saying when does it become the woman's? The moment she wants to use it. So therefore, it's as if he's saying the husband shouldn't have a shaykhs to it. So the machlekes if it works by an eved as well. And the Taz says it does not because the eved has no yad at all. By a woman, when you give her something, even if the dividends go to the husband, but the item itself belongs to the woman. So she has a yad. So therefore, if you say whenever you decide to use it, at that moment it becomes hers, and therefore it's hers. Mashenk Eved, he has no yad in the first instance. Anyway, okay, we'll continue tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem.